Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or the overhuman or Superman as it appears in his most famous work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, is usually interpreted as an ideal of individual cultural excellence, as a vision of a great human being who overcomes the limitations of their historical era as well as themselves and achieves grandiose goals and creates new values. But there's an equally important ecological and global side to the Übermensch that isn't talked about as much. Adrian Del Caro, who translated the Cambridge edition of Thus Spoke Zarathustra into English, states in the footnotes to the prologue that what the concept of the Übermensch calls for is not an ideal of individual cultural excellence, but rather a new relationship between human species and nature. For Zarathustra to claim that the overman shall be the meaning of the earth, Del Caro writes, is to argue for a new relationship between humans and nature, between humans and the earth. The prologue establishes a prevailing semantic field, a framework in which human beings, animals, nature and earth interact or should interact as never before. Del Caro is not alone in this interpretation. Martin Heidegger, in his 1952 series of lectures titled What is Called Thinking, also understands Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch ecologically and globally. He takes it to be a representation of a future humanity that would be able to assume dominion of the earth as a whole with responsibility, that is, to wield to a high purpose the powers that will fall to future man in the nature of the technological transformation of the earth and of human activity. In a haunting tone, Heidegger proclaims that Nietzsche was the first man to raise the question, is man, as he has been and still is, prepared to assume that dominion? If not, then what must happen to man as he is, so that he can make earth subject to himself, and thus fulfill the words of an Old Testament? In the 21st century, when it is safe to say that humanity has already assumed dominion over the planet and is currently facing an environmental crisis, this question sounds even more pressing than it did when Heidegger wrote it in 1952, or when Nietzsche published Zarathustra in 1883. It is obvious that humanity as it is today is still not prepared to rule Earth responsibly, as the climate crisis makes evident. But what must happen to humanity so that it would finally be prepared to rule the Earth responsibly? The answer is, as Nietzsche seems to believe, that humanity must become overhuman or übermenschlich, which essentially means, according to Del Caro, that it needs to develop a completely new relationship with nature, a relationship entirely different than the one that has been the norm so far. But how should humanity do it? And how should that new relationship to nature look like? Contemporary Nietzschean scholar Vanessa Lemm gives us a clue as to the answers that Nietzsche seems to have proposed to those questions. She shows in her recent book that Nietzsche saw it as his task to translate humanity back into nature, that is, to propose and defend a general understanding of the human being as a wholly natural being, as an organic, living being that is an inseparable part of nature and does not transcend nature or is essentially superior to it in any way. Only through this new self-understanding, according to Lemm's reading of Nietzsche, can humanity become overhuman and assume dominion of the earth as a whole with responsibility, as Heidegger writes. Because only under this new self-understanding would humanity be logically required to ascribe the same ethical rights and moral concern to all non-human organisms as it does to all human beings. If nature was conceived as an essential part of what makes human beings human, of what plays a significant role in defining what a human being is, then it would follow that humanity would have no inherent right to destroy nature as much as it doesn't have an inherent right to kill human beings, since nature would be thought of as a part of humanity, just as humanity would be thought of as a part of nature. The ethical value of every living organism would thus be necessarily equal to the ethical value of a human being, and humanity would be compelled to ascribe the same moral concerns to non-human organisms as it does to human beings. Nietzsche himself points the way to such an understanding of the human and its relationship to nature in the following section. We have relearned. We have become more modest in all things. We no longer derive man from spirit, from divinity. We have put him back among the animals. He is considered the strongest animal because he is the most cunning. A consequence of this is his spirituality. On the other hand, we defend ourselves against a vanity that would like to speak out here again, as if man had been the great ulterior motive of all organic evolution. He is by no means the crown of creation. Every being is, next to him, on the same level of perfection. And in asserting this, we still assert too much. Man is, relatively taken, the most failed animal, the most morbid, the one that has most dangerously strayed from his instincts, but admittedly, with all this, also the most interesting. By putting down the human being from the pedestal of organic evolution and highlighting its relative failedness as an organism, Nietzsche is presenting the human being as not superior to nature in any way, but as an equally developed organism to all other organisms. Since humanity, presented in this way, is in no way superior to nature, it doesn't possess any inherent right to look down upon it as something lesser and viable for exploitation. It is this new relationship between human beings and nature, an equal relationship of mutual interdeterminacy, that Nietzsche seems to promote as a result of his translating the human being back into nature, and it is this new relationship that would most likely help, in his view, make humanity overhuman, because it would make it more natural. Only through this new self-understanding would humanity finally be able to assume dominion of the earth as a whole with responsibility, since it would be morally obliged to treat other organisms with the same moral concern as it treats human beings. Only through this new self-understanding would humanity therefore be able to wield to a high purpose the powers that will fall to future man in the nature of the technological transformation of the earth and of human activity. If you like this video and would like to support the channel, please do so on buymeacoffee.com. The link is in the description.